about home. They're married to real estate.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast for people who love real estate and want to become inspired and informed. Whether you are a newbie real estate agent looking to get tips and learn a thing or two, or maybe you are a savvy property owner who wants to get a jump on the market, this is the place for you. We discuss our passion for real estate and people, and we bring together our personal experiences as well as our guests to learn from each other. You'll hear from experts in sales coaching, real estate law, mortgage lending, investing, and many local business owners on how to grow your business or your investment in real estate. I'm Mairi Elliot.
I'm Mary Forster.
And I'm Mary McCauley.
And we are Married to Real Estate.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Married to Real Estate. And we are so thrilled today to have Mr. Nate Telow as our guest. And Nate, what we do typically is we do a little check-in with each other, and then we introduce you, and we have all this great conversation with you. And then at the end, we use a quote to kind of end the discussion. And it's very freewheeling. The goal is to have fun, to get to know each other, and for our listeners to get to know you. So that is the goal of the day. So welcome, Mary.
Welcome.
And
Mary.
Hi.
Mary. Hello.
Yes, we have
Mary.
a very different setup
Nate,
today.
hello.
Yes.
Nate. And so ladies, what's been happening in this last week?
Ooh, well, I've been busy with buyers. Have a couple new buyers, and it's been a little rough because things come on and fly off very quickly. I have a couple of properties coming on in Westford soon, so stay tuned for more of that.
Excited for
So,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
And coaching, we're planning an event with the productivity group on opening day
Oh,
in March. So
fun.
hopefully that will happen.
Like to go to opening
To
day?
go watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Client appreciation. So
That'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
fun.
Great. And Mary.
And me, I am deep in the throes of getting ready for a presentation for a new client that I'm excited about, and really, really like deep in the committee in Groton right now. We have been assigning sort of the subcommittee things, and like I said last week, I said yes to too many of them, and now I find myself in charge of grant writing applications. Or grant applications.
It's a full-time job.
It is. It really. It feels
be.
like it. We're doing a webinar on learning how to write applications, and it's a whole new world for me. It's really kind of fun and awesome, and I feel very powerful.
Yeah. So you've got the power.
Your power is right. That's right.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
That's what I'm doing.
And what about
Excellent.
you, Mary Forster?
So Mary Forster is doing more of the same, more referring people to great realtors everywhere, and keeping in touch mostly with my referral base outside of Massachusetts. So a lot of realtors whom I refer people to. So,
Yeah.
which is
Nice.
great. It's awesome.
Worldwide.
So I'm so excited that Nate is here today. I've had not so many, but I've had always provocative conversations with Nate Telow. I've always left them enlarged, always a bigger world. And I hope that you will see as we chat with Nate today that he shares with us a lot of our own kind of common goals. And we are not bodybuilders. However, behind those bodybuilders are many common traits. So Nate, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Nate.
For having me. Nice to meet you.
Great.
ladies.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I've known Nate about 6 years, and in that time I've known him as a businessman running personal training businesses among the condo buildings in Boston before COVID. So bringing personal trainers to clients in a business mode.
Yeah.
I've known you as a musician. He's a graduate of Berkeley College of Music and
That's
guitar,
awesome. Yeah.
right? Guitar.
Yeah.
And I've known you as a band member with my daughter for a while. And let's see, what else? I've known you as a personal trainer and as now, in the last 3 years, an avid bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But more than anything, what really is so attractive to me is your entrepreneurial spirit, your commitment to growing, and I know we share that with you today. So what do you think about that?
So that's it. Thank you for coming.
That will be our show today.
There, I said it all.
Yeah.
So that's great. So again, welcome, Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us how you got started, where you are right now.
With the current business or started
Yeah,
as in
sure.
personal
Give us your whole story.
Take it
How
from
about
the
Gym
top,
Hub?
Nate.
How about
were
Gym
born-
Hub?
no.
How about
So,
Gym?
yeah. So for Gym Hub, so to get to Gym Hub, I'll give you the quick story of went to Berkeley College of Music, got out, was trying to be a full-time musician, but was a daytime personal trainer while gigging at night.
Yep.
I loved that job. In the people that I met, very similar to your careers, right? You meet lots of very interesting people. You build a great network. And I climbed the ladder. I went from a trainer training all day for 3 years to that company promoted me up to be a fitness manager of one gym. Did that for a while, got offered opportunity from a guy who was going to be opening up franchises of gyms to start my own company and provide the personal training within his gyms, like outsource it. So I got that. From that, through a connection from him, I got the opportunity to be president of personal training of a big national gym chain.
Oh, wow.
So we grew to over 70 health clubs around the country. I came in at 4 gyms and basically had free reign to design the program as I saw fit, with just meeting certain metrics that the company needed for profitability. That I could do whatever I wanted, from who we hired, how we trained, the whole corporate infrastructure, our pricing, all of that. I just needed to deliver a net of 35%. So whatever I wanted to do to get there, that they knew what we did for gross top line revenue, they would net 35%. I had free reign. So I did that for 4.5 years. And that was like getting a master's degree of starting from 4 gyms, growing to 70 all around the country.
Wow.
And the levels of management there, from a 1 gym manager to a regional manager who oversaw 5 gyms, to a regional vice president who oversaw 4 regional managers and 20 gyms, and being the guy at the top with a degree in guitar.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of learning to go with that. And so I did that for about 4.5 years, and then left that position and started the Highrise training business, where I was living in a high-rise. I saw there were people working with trainers that I would call subpar trainers, and the building had no systems in place to promote it. So people had to find their own,
Right.
Much like in any service, find your own plumber, find your own contractor, right? There's good ones, there's bad ones.
Right.
And the people in these buildings didn't have any sort of great referrals to go off of. So I positioned myself to have the building refer me. I would develop relationships with the managers of the building so that they could trust me. Any trainer I put in there, they knew was quality. If there was ever an issue, they called me, I solved it.
Yeah.
So I did that for, maybe six years or so. And I got to 8 high-rise buildings throughout Boston and Cambridge. And then COVID hit. And all of the gyms, obviously commercial gyms shut down, but also residential building gyms shut down. And I was out of business.
Yeah.
And, so a couple things happened. Obviously, I don't have a safety net in my life, so you have to find a way to make ends meet. So 2 ideas popped up through COVID. One happened before. So when I had this training business of trainers working for me in high rises, there's a life cycle of anybody in these kind of jobs where they come in, they don't know much. You teach them the ropes, you teach them, in the case of training, how to train, how to sell, how to manage their business. And in exchange for that, you get a cut of every session that they do. Similar to like a hair salon or various, probably in realty.
Yeah, or real estate.
Real
Exactly.
estate.
Right.
Yeah.
Same. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. And at a certain point in somebody's life cycle, they feel they don't need you anymore and they want a bigger piece of the pie. So they go on to start their own thing. And so that would always happen in training. I'd have somebody bring them in, teach them how to be a trainer, get them to 10 or 15 clients. And at a certain point, they say, well, why am I giving you 50%, of all of this? And they go on their own.
Yeah.
And so that was starting to be a pattern, here and there. Not, maybe 15% of trainers would move on. But when you consider yourself a small business and everyone's a family, it sucks to lose those people.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's part of me that's like, I also didn't want to feel negative about that, because that's great for that person, for their career going forward to go on their own. But how can I be involved in that? And so the wheels were already turning there, because when I wanted to scale the high-rise business, there was always that in the back of my mind of, I'm going to be scaling something where trainers are leaving, and I'm just filling them in. And I never liked that.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit, and we were all out of work, and I had to scramble just to make ends meet for myself. And there's a couple kids that opened up these little bootstrap studios, 200 square feet, with a set of dumbbells and a squat rack,
Right.
and some bands, and it just became a place to work.
Right.
And so I started training 6 clients a day in there just to get by, and then I realized it was getting harder and harder to book these times because every other trainer in the city was trying to use these rooms.
Uh-huh.
I knew what was happening is, so I was already working for myself. So when a client paid me, I got the money.
Yeah.
And in this case, I paid a small rent to use the room. The trainers that were coming into these studios were coming from Boston Sports Club, Equinox, various commercial gyms. And those trainers got paid through the gym about 30% what the clients were paying. So easy math, client at Boston Sports Club pays $100 an hour for a trainer. That trainer's seeing like $25 to $30 up.
Oh,
That's
And the
rough.
gym
Yeah.
takes the rest.
oh.
So now COVID hits and the gyms are closed. All of these trainers now are having to fend for themselves. They have their clients. The clients want to train. They want to train the clients. So people are scattering and finding these little hole in the wall studios, but now getting 100% of the money minus the rent they're paying for the studio.
Right.
And so now instead of making
increase.
25, 30%, they're making 70 or 80%.
Yeah.
Right.
And I knew there's no way these trainers are going back to the gyms.
Uh-huh.
And so then the hunt became, there's not enough, there's more demand than there is locations
Right.
for these rooms. I think this is going to shift the industry of trainers that see the opportunity of going for, their hand was forced to go on their own.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it sped up the life cycle that they might have gotten to
Yeah.
3 or 4 years down the line.
Well, and how eye-opening to a soft spot in the business.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an area, part of it goes to when I started as a trainer in 2003, the only way you could get clients was to be part of a commercial gym that had the thousands and thousands of members, because you had no other way to get these people.
No
Right.
feed, no feed.
Sure,
Right.
probably like real estate, right?
Right,
Like you're
exactly. No
part of a
leads.
site where all the leads come in and you join the
Yeah.
leads. Social media has changed that.
Yeah, sure has.
People that know how to use that to their benefit no longer need these other people to get leads. They can generate their own leads. And that's true in every industry, but especially in personal training right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so trainers don't necessarily need these gyms. When I started, we did. And so you had no alternative other than to let the gym take 70% if you wanted to work
Right.
in this field.
Right.
Now you do, but the gyms are still charging that. And having worn the hats that I've worn in the past of being the guy in charge of a big corporate gym, I know the hands that are in the cookie jar as you go up the ladder.
Right.
Right.
And there are no margins to give back to the trainers because of the levels of management. Anything that you're giving to the trainer comes out of your bottom line. So there's a quote a gentleman told me who runs a private equity firm, who I explained my business, and he was so excited about it. And he said, your margins are my opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Because they have no margins, right? And so these trainers are not making very much, but they don't have the margins to give them more.
Yep.
So that's where my business can come in and exploit that and allow the trainers to make significantly more money, more than double their yearly income by doing the same number of hours just coming to my location.
Wow.
Terrific.
That's
People
really
would be a
cool.
fool not to do that then.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
it really does sound like you're sort of disrupting the industry, the way that it's been done for, however long. This is a whole new way of sort of approaching it, and sounds like a no-brainer to anybody.
And
in
how
the-
unique that you have the perspective of from, the big corporation on down to the individual trainer.
So what
That's
happened?
been it.
Go ahead.
What?
So I was just going to
gonna
say what happened. Yeah.
That's been the journey of, I think where I've succeeded in this industry is I've been fortunate to wear all the hats. It's
Yeah.
the guy that was, the janitor, and you move up and,
Oh, yeah.
you not only understand what those jobs are, but you can connect and empathize with the people in those positions.
Sure, and see the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I'm not, coming at it from, say, the academic standpoint, that sometimes you lose, you don't have the connection with the people,
Right.
all
No
of my
MBA.
career, I've been the guy, if I'm talking to, even when I was running the 70 plus gyms, I would go into a gym and sit down and have a conversation with a trainer and see what their sticking points are. And I'm scared to walk up and talk to people. I'd tell stories of I felt the same way. Here's what worked for me. You know what? Let's go do it right now. And you know, you roll up your sleeves and say, I've been in your position. I felt that. Here's how I overcame it. Let's try it together right now.
Right, scripts and role play.
I am so struck by the similarities, honestly, of
Right.
real estate and what you're describing. I mean, it's the same exact thing. A new agent comes in, they're terrified to pick up the phone or go door knocking, and seasoned agent comes along and says, "No, it's not scary. Let's just go do it."
Nobody dies. Right?
Yeah, nobody's
Nobody dies.
exactly.
Right.
So Nate, what I also know about you is that you also seek out the wisdom and counsel of other people as well, and you have several people who just are tremendous resources to you. And so your coach, of course, your business coach, you know, the people that just they share your joy and pleasure and your success and your efforts, and that is what is so also impressive about you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll tell anybody, you know, any success that I've had has come from these people that I've surrounded myself with. You know, I always joke, I'm the guy from Berkeley with a guitar degree. You know,
Yeah.
all of these jobs that I've had have been over my head. But where I've been fortunate is I have people around me that I go, hey, I'm in this scenario. You know, what do I do? Help me solve it. And I've been very fortunate with some of these people is that they don't give me the answer. They help me solve it so I can learn. So one of the early ones, Mary Forster, you've met my good friend Gautam Mukunda.
Gautam Mukunda. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so brilliant person, Harvard undergrad, MIT PhD, professor at Harvard Business School. Been on Jeopardy twice and won.
What a dummy.
WGBH, right? He's also
Someone you want to consult at all.
Nah, I wouldn't ask him anything.
he's also on WGBH a lot too, as I remember
Yes,
as well. Yes,
correct.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, that's really funny.
And so he was actually somebody I met just out of college, was a client of mine. He was at Harvard for undergrad.
Yep.
And he was just, you know, as I called him at the time, one of my nerdy clients. and
He needed a
there
bulk
was
up.
there was a
Good
real
to know.
pivotal moment for me where I had been a trainer for 3 years out of college, and I was training 8 to 10 hours a day, and I loved it, but I was exhausted, and there was no way to do more. You know,
Right.
I didn't have any more time, and I was offered a manager position where I would have to leave that gym and all of my clients that I built up over 3 years, that I also had relationships with, to transfer to another club and be the manager of that personal training department, where now it was going to be a salary, commissions, and bonus. And that was a very unknown format to me. And obviously, anytime you're in it, you're given quotas and you can hit a bonus. You always worry about the fairness of that system, right? It's very easy to set the goalpost just out of reach,
Yep.
and you work hard and you end the month at 95% and you get nothing. So
Right.
at the time I had sought advice from my parents, and, you know, like specifically my mom was saying, don't do it. You know, you've worked so hard to build this up. And what if you don't like the what ifs, right? What if you don't like it? What if it doesn't work out? What if you don't make money?
Fear.
And so that was a lot of the family advice that was given to me.
Right.
And I remember speaking to Gautam and saying, you know, I'm offered this job. I have 1 week to give an answer, or days to give an answer if I'm going to take it. So somebody left. They needed to fill a position right away. It was a club that was falling apart. And I would have been the guy that needs to come in and turn it around and save it. So it was already not the best situation. I'm not
Right. Not ideal.
the ideal club. And so I sat with him and I said, hey, I got this offer. I don't know what to do. My family's saying, don't take it. You know, these are all of the risks. And he's like, you absolutely take it. And he was so certain about it, right?
Yeah.
And it was two things. It was like, you know, after the session, let's sit down, let's make a list of pros and cons. And all of the cons, the what ifs that my family was telling me, he was like, if that's true, you come right back into this job and all of your clients come back to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You're safe.
So it's a minor blip. And he's like, but you won't know. You may do that job and you may love it. And he was like, I see something in you that you don't see in you. And I know you can do this job. And he's like, I think it's more of the fear of yourself that what if I don't succeed and what if I fail? And he's like, I'll be there with you every step of the way. You have any questions, you call me up.
Nice.
But I know you can do it. And so it was that pep talk that I said, okay, like I'm going to take it. And the previous month, that before I got into this club had sold like $18,000 or $19,000 of personal training. I come in, it's in downtown Boston. It's a very rough group of trainers. No one likes each other. Everybody's trying to position themselves as the alpha male, the best person. They're butting heads. And I'm like the third fitness manager in 6 months coming in.
Wow.
So it's
Not
like,
a
all
lot
right,
of
here's
trust.
this guy.
Yeah.
Tough situation.
And all I could do was, rather than say, I'm the new boss, you better listen to me, is say, like, I need to earn their respect.
Yeah.
So I worked out I set up with everybody is, I'm going to train you and then you're going to train me. And we're going to learn something from each other. And I consider myself a very good trainer, and I was going to show them I was a really good trainer.
Yeah.
And so from that, immediately people started clicking, and I recognized that while this was a very hard group, almost nobody there had any education. I realized they were very competitive with each other, but it was coming out in the wrong way,
Right.
and in a combative, argumentative
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. It could,
So I just started setting little contests of, the trainer that brings on the most new clients gets this. The trainer that brings in the most revenue gets this.
positive reinforcement.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was like something simple, like I'll buy you a pair of custom Nike shoes. But that became like the championship belt,
Right,
because only
right.
they could. And my first month, so there was like 18 or 19,000 the previous month. My very first month, we ended at 55,000.
Oh my
Perfect.
gosh. Wow.
What an increase.
And then a year later, when I had to beat my own numbers in that club,
Yeah.
we did like 85, 90,000.
Perfect.
Wow.
Wow, Nate. That's incredible. And that's just
So
from a
that-
mindset change.
That's all it was.
Really?
is
Yeah.
I just didn't, I like a lot of people, we grow up and we don't have a lot of confidence in ourselves. And I was the kind of person that I had to do something. Like I have a half brother who is incredibly confident. I wish I had a tenth of his confidence. You put him in a something he's never done. And he's like, I'm going to be the greatest person in this ever. Just
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Yeah, I want some of that too.
I do too.
Yeah.
Different generation.
And until he fails, and then he's like, oh, this isn't fair. This isn't rigged. I'm done with it. Right. And so it's
right.
an all or nothing.
Yeah.
It is a very all or nothing.
And I'm the kind of person that, like, I like failing because there's problem solving involved in it.
Well,
I
sure,
really,
fail forward, right?
Right.
yes, exactly. So yeah, that moment with my friend Gotham, of it went against all the advice I was getting from
Yeah.
friends and family.
Yeah.
But it was that, the trust of he was going to be my safety net of, and I didn't know then about him what I know now of how brilliant he is. He was just my nerdy Indian client.
Sure. Right.
But I knew he was intelligent. Now he's obviously proven to be very, very successful. And very smart in taking his advice. But yeah.
Well, I think it speaks to your instincts, it sounds like, and also, that you have a vision and your eyes are open to opportunity. Not everybody is open to the opportunities or sees them when they
That's
fall
such a
in your
good
path.
point. Yeah, and I'm over here I'm like so moved by it's the same idea as, remember when we interviewed Yun, she did the same thing for me in the very beginning. It's like, I see something in you, even if you don't yet see it, it's there and you can succeed in this. And that somebody saying that to you can be so powerful and really shift your whole
Right,
life.
and not that your family doesn't believe it. They
No,
just
yeah,
come
it's
from
not
a
their
different
experience,
place of,
yeah.
they don't want you to be behind or under.
Exactly, or feel less than or
Right,
what have
yeah.
you along
So-
the way. But it's so powerful and it's so good that, he's obviously placed into your life for a reason. That's how my
Well, and
mind
to recognize
works.
that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But tell us about Jose also,
Oh, dear.
because Jose
Yeah, so-
brings in a different world.
Oh, very much. Yeah.
Yes.
So I connected with Jose in that when I was in my early 20s, I did a couple bodybuilding shows and I trained really, really hard. And I had a process of, I did a show, I did terrible. And I came back the next year and I won the show. And I worked harder than I've ever worked on anything in my life at that point. And I won it. And I said, wow, if I just applied myself in my career in what I did for this show, like I realized I was capable of more. And then I did that and I stopped competing and I didn't work out to the same extent. So as I got older, there was a part of me that says, like, I used to love training the way that I trained. Like it really brought me enjoyment. I felt better throughout the day. I think I need somebody to push me again. And Jose is like a local legend for bodybuilding. We have a few people out of the Boston, Massachusetts area, and he's one of them where he placed second in the Mr. Olympia, which is like the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
wow. Okay.
He won an Arnold Classic. So the Arnold Classic competition in Ohio is the second biggest bodybuilding show that we
Okay.
have. He won that in 2015. So it started out where my girlfriend bought me 3 training sessions with him for Christmas one year. She saw me watching his YouTube videos and talking about maybe I should hire a trainer for a few sessions just to kick my butt and get me back in. So that's how that started. And I trained with him a few times. I loved it, so I kept going. And at that same time, my girlfriend was getting ready for her first show, and I had no desire to compete again. I just wanted to push myself a little harder in the gym. And Jose said, "Why aren't you doing the show that she's doing?" And I said, I haven't competed in 13 years. I wouldn't do well. I don't even want to like bother with that. He's like, "No, you would do well. I think you should jump in the show. I'll coach you, and you're going to win it." And I didn't know if it was just sort of pleasantries of,
That's what he says to everybody, you know? Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? Like, if anything's going to get my butt in gear of training harder is this deadline of this show, I'll do it. And I ended up winning the show. And I got hooked. And very much a similar story to Gotham's thing is I had somebody that believed in me when I didn't believe.
Yeah.
I put in the work with a lot of their help. And the outcome was very rewarding. And then you start saying, okay, I did this. What's the next level? What's the next level? So it started with that one show about 3.5 years ago. And it was a show in Connecticut. Then I did a bigger show in Boston and won that. And then the next tier in bodybuilding, when you're doing these local shows, is to compete on a national level where everybody there has won a local show.
Okay.
So everybody's really good.
Yeah.
And very, very good. And if you're able to win that, you get what's called your pro card. So it's sort of the along the lines of like going into the major league in baseball or NBA. Or, everybody that's a pro is not only has incredible genetics, but works hard with that. And so that kind of became the goal of, can I get that? For most, it's no. I would meet people along the way that they've been trying for 15 years. Oh, wow. And you look at them and you're like, oof, this is, taking a toll on their loved ones, their career, they're this, because they're so dedicated and they're not going to get there. So I didn't want to be that guy. But I also had Jose in one ear saying, no, you absolutely can do this. And so it became another little goal of mine to say, can I get this pro card? Because it's like, when you're a pro for life.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was able to achieve that last July.
Oh, my God.
Congratulations.
A big national show and getting that. So that was a huge accomplishment. Again, thanks to Jose, because I wouldn't have even done that show 3.5 years ago had he not believed in me, because I didn't have any myself.
Yeah. But then what drives you? Because, I mean, it's one thing to have someone, oh, you can do it, but then you really have to do it. So how do you stay on track with that?
I find myself in stuff that I do, I'm not happy when I'm complacent. Right. And even if I'm good at something and I'm just stagnant at being good at that thing, I start to lose the love for it. Okay. And the love for me is in working towards, ideally perfection, that's not there, but working towards progress.
Yeah.
And so the competing, there's no money in it really. It's
all the glory.
Bragging rights.
It's all the glory.
What it became, even the show day was weird for me, everything involved in that. But what I loved about it was the idea of the show day coming up made the process more fun. I worked harder in the process of it, knowing that the deadline was coming up. And as I climbed levels of competition, knowing the people I was going to be going against made me work even harder in the process. And that's the part that I find enjoyable.
Okay. Yeah.
What I also noticed, I watched the streaming of that competition in South Carolina. Was it South Carolina? I watched the streaming. I watched 100 men come out on the stage and do their posing.
Yep.
And what stood out for you, Nate, is you had an atmosphere about you. it was amazing to me how many of the contestants walked out with their heads down.
Yeah.
Stood there and waited for their signal or whatever they were supposed to do, and then did their poses. You walked out like you expected to win. Now, not in an arrogant way, but that was who you were, and that really, to me, that really stood out. I could have been biased, but that really stood out.
Well, sounds like confidence that your half brother you thought had the market on.
Seriously, like I got to meet this half brother, because if you have less confidence than that
Exactly.
That was amazing to me.
That was the first show that I went into with confidence.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that way going into the show and not knowing if it was okay to be feeling that way.
Right.
Because I hadn't, previously.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's showing up. You don't, and it's a very subjective, it's a beauty pageant for guys standing in their underwear flexing.
Yeah. And you're
Very little underwear. Yes, that's right.
How do I not know this?
Yeah, so you might think you win. There's 5 or 7 judges that determine who looks best, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not scoring touchdowns and points. And
Yeah.
so going into this show, part of it was I was winning tougher and tougher shows leading up to it. So I was building confidence.
Yeah.
I had Jose, at this point, I had been around my coach Jose enough to know that he doesn't just give you compliments to give you compliments. If he says something, he really means it. And he was different this show. He's like, nobody's beating you in this show.
Wow.
That level.
Yeah.
And I knew that I could not have done anything better. Every area of my life, I managed to, what's the ideal bubble you could live in to perform better in this show? Get 8 hours of sleep. I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. Eat these exact 6 meals a day. I'm going to do that. Train the most intensity. So I went into this show saying there was not one thing I could have done better.
Lovely.
And part of it, to Mairi, to your comment of everyone else kind of coming out with their heads down.
Yeah.
The interesting thing when you get into this community, because everybody looks scary, they're these big, jacked, muscly people.
Right.
That probably the general assumption would be they're narcissistic, they're conceited, they're full of themselves, they're right. And it couldn't be further from the truth.
Amazing.
These people have built up armor because they're some of the most insecure people you'll meet.
Yeah.
I'll have these stories of, it's those old ads of the bully kicks sand in their face on the beach, and it's I'll show you, and I'll, and they're just a bigger version of that kid that got bullied.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
No, I say the same thing about, my son originally wanted to go to Berkeley School of Music and then couldn't get in. So we'll go back to that for a second. But who is now a punk rock guy. And same thing. He wears spikes on his jacket and, leather. And he's got this tough looking exterior. If you're walking down the street, you're like, I'm not going to mess with that guy. He's 6'3" and, spikes on his everything.
Love it.
But he's the sweetest, most sensitive, kind, thoughtful person, and it's really just to cover up his sensitivities, and I think that's
Nate
the whole
said, an armor.
Yeah, it's a total armor, and he would deny that when he was 17, 18, but now he's actually at the ripe old age of 22 realizing it, that this is just his armor, and I totally understand that in your community as well. It's a way to protect yourself visually.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and one of the things that in having Jose Raymond as a mentor, it goes way beyond eat this, train this way. What was also different about this show is, early on, it's overwhelming. The amount of work that you have to put in on and the low calories and eat exactly this, and you're measuring out every grain of rice and ounce of chicken, and early on, it's very overwhelming because it's so different from what your routine was, and there's no room for error. There's no room for I would like to have an ice cream now. It's and so 3 months of this not a drop of alcohol, not a cookie, not a piece of bread, nothing. And so it gets easier
That's
the
why
more
I'm
that
not
you
a bodybuilder.
Never gonna happen.
But one of the things, like this last show with Jose, was, that became routine because I had done enough shows. It was
Right.
like, I know how hard I need to train. I know the cardio, I know the diet, all of this. Where Jose started working with me more is because Jose judges shows as well. He's like, you need to come out confident because that's going to be perceived, right?
Yeah.
The best looking guy that comes with his head down and is kind of cowering is going to ruin his chances of winning. So part of what Jose talked to me was, he's like, your tan has to be perfect. Your posing has to be perfect. The way you walk out on stage, you need to come out like you're already the winner. And so Jose was in my ear, and here's somebody that, 25 years of competing with the best in the world, had all these little tricks and all these little things. And so, yeah, I never, ever, like, I wouldn't have even competed if I had met with Jose, and certainly with any other coach. I don't believe I would have gone the path that I did of getting my pro card, because, in the process of first just paying Jose a couple times a week for sessions, we became best friends. And you start to, like, I always love digging in and saying, okay, why does this business work? Why is this person successful? And you start picking up on traits and qualities. And I remember training with Jose a week and a half out from his last Mr. Olympia 2018. It's the biggest, it's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All the pressure on him. He's always a favorite to win, or he's going to be top 5. And in the bodybuilding media is talking about him. And, as much as people are talking positive, when you get into the world of the internet, there's the trolls and the people that want to talk negative.
Yeah.
Of course.
And he has all this stuff around him. And I train with him in the gym, and he's doing 2 hours of cardio a day and eating only 50 grams of carbs a day. Just a level of suffering to get as lean as he needs to get. And he's in the best mood. And he doesn't let it affect him. And because it's like, it's not a big deal. This is what I've been doing for 20 years.
Right.
It's only a big deal if I make it a big deal.
Right.
And so just being around him, when you're around somebody that excels in their field, in your field, in my field, they make it look really easy.
Yep.
And then you start picking up on the qualities that they have, the way that they talk, the way that they act, the things that would be a stressor to me aren't for him. And so the time that I spent with him really helped put things into perspective. The stuff that I was making a big deal and stressing about and losing sleep over, you realize in the scheme of things isn't a big deal, and it changes your perspective of how you view things when you're around people who have been at a very high level in that thing for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So true.
Well, I'm remembering, Nate, a couple of years ago, you did a lot of interviews with the Boston Mass. And Boston Mass is the handle for Jose Raymond. And you guys did a great job. You especially did a great job. I would say just doing what we're doing, which is a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun, connecting with people, learning and being inspired by people exactly like you.
Yeah.
And specifically by you. You did a lovely job interviewing those. And what he did is they interviewed champions, champion bodybuilders. And I hope you do more of it. You have a really great way about you.
Yeah, that whole thing was so enjoyable. It's right when COVID hit and all the gyms were closed. Jose was able to find some office building gym where the office was closed down, and we were sneaking in and using this. Route 1 in Saugus, some office building that was abandoned during COVID.
Yes.
Someone gave us a little passcode, and we went into the abandoned building to use the gym. And
Guerrilla
so
workouts.
during the process, all we had to do, it was such a weird time where you have time, and for us I hadn't figured out how it was going to work yet. So you consumed a lot of Netflix, a lot of TV.
Sure.
And I was watching a lot of bodybuilding podcasts, and they were terrible. They were either people that had nothing to do with the field, just asking terrible questions. There's a lot of stuff in bodybuilding too that is more sensationalism, sort of TMZ, and there was no, as I was learning what I thought was a proper understanding of how to do this thing the right way from Jose, there was no channel of that I felt was putting out good info or having good people on and understanding them as a whole human versus just this one little niche of bodybuilding.
Exactly.
You'd have these guests on and they'd say, okay, so run us through a day of what you eat. What was your breakfast? And what did you train yesterday? And the X's and O's.
Yeah.
We would have them on and say, like, how did you even get into bodybuilding?
Right.
What are your hobbies outside of that? What revenue streams do you have outside of bodybuilding? What did you learn about the business of bodybuilding? So it came about from just Jose and I complaining one day of the podcast we were consuming, of how terrible they are. And Jose just threw out, we should do one. And I laughed because it's Jose, who's a huge name in the sport, and me, who nobody knows.
Now they do.
And
yeah.
and then I laughed about it. Like, no, I'm serious. He's
Yes,
like,
I
you
know.
and
I know. Yeah.
are talking, for the whole hour about whatever, like, just record it.
Yeah.
So because Jose's so beloved in the industry, he goes through his phone, he has everybody's cell phone number, he texts them, hey, going to start a podcast, want to be on it? And we have everybody.
Yeah.
The Mr. Olympias and the top people. And it was an interesting thing for me because Jose had the gift of having a rapport with these people. These were all his genuine friends. And they could tell stories of, remember that time we were in Germany and we had too many drinks and this happened. And I'm the guy nobody knows. and I don't know these people,
Yeah, right.
And so the only thing I could do was learn about this person, consume as much content. I went and had all this time on my hands. So I listened to every podcast they had ever done and took notes and said, okay, I would have liked a follow-up question here of this, or I wonder, and just jotted all that down and just tried to be prepared because Jose could wing these things. These were all his friends. He's just, it's a catch-up phone call. And so we had some really interesting, one, I don't know if you had seen this one, Mary Forster, it was Jose's coach who coached for Mr. Olympia.
Yes.
Be like,
from Maine. Was he the man from Maine?
Yes.
Yes.
From Maine,
From Lewiston, maybe, right?
Yes.
From
Lewiston,
like you.
who owns over 100 properties, and real estate's his full-time thing. Whether it's Airbnb or rentals and
Yeah.
no one had ever asked this guy about that other than like, oh, outside of bodybuilding, you have some rental properties. And we probably spent 40 minutes.
Yeah.
How did you ever get into this?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you pick winners and losers within the rental properties? How does that relate to bodybuilding? And it was a really interesting conversation.
Awesome.
Sounds like we should have this guy on.
Yeah. I remember who he is. Nate, I want to thank you so much. This has been, we could just keep going,
Yes, we
going. But any last questions before? Okay,
Yes.
go for it. Go for it, girl.
Berkeley. So
Be careful.
I'm doing what you just recommended because this was actually my big. Tell me about your Berkeley experience. Like, I want to know not just your bodybuilding stuff, but college. What led you to that? And then do you find that that is still a centering force in your life? Music and playing guitar, is that a way for you? Do you still connect with it? Does your guitar degree do a thing for you at this point?
So to that last question, what I learned, what I got out of going to Berkeley, I think that's helped me as a person later in my career, is I realized you don't have to be the best at something to get the job. You have to be good, but you have to be likable. You have to show up prepared, and you have to show up on time.
Right.
And that's something that's very much missing within the musician community.
Aha, yes, indeed, it is.
And so I was able to, at Berkeley, the pinnacle shows, they have like singer showcase,
Yep.
where it's, every singer wants to be in it because it means you're one of the best singers in the school.
Right.
The same goes for the band. If you're the guitar player in the band, it means you're the guy they picked. You're the drummer. You're the, and a lot of these, a few other bigger shows, I was the guy in all of these shows, and not because I was the best, but because, I talked to a guy who knew the guy who at least got my name to them, and I was on his radar, and I said, if you give me this opportunity, I'll show up prepared, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And was humble about it. It was, I would love the chance to do this. And when given the chance, I did what was needed, and there's a lot of young musicians who come to Berkeley that were the big fish in the small pond.
Yes. Yep.
Who have an ego already at 18.
Yep.
And feel they are owed something. And obviously the the professors in this school see this, year after year with each incoming class. And,
yes, I'm sure.
they're not the most teachable or easy to work with. So those people that might have been more talented than me were not as easy to work with. And that was a lesson that I took from that.
That's huge. Yeah. That's huge. Because Berkeley's not an easy school. It's not like you just say, hey, I have a guitar and I want to go to this school. You have to do all of that stuff just to get in. And then going all the way through it, you're absolutely right. I've always had that thought about like, this is a tough school. Musicians aren't always the most, dedicated, wake up on time and show up to class kind of people, So it's really interesting to hear that because it applies to everything in life. If you show up on time with some preparation ahead of you, it puts you ahead of a larger group than you may realize at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so many musicians I worked with that, you work with them in spite of everything because they're so good.
Right.
But oftentimes you fall back to the person that's not as good, who just does the job.
Yeah.
And
is there.
reliable.
Yep.
Yeah. When I was at Berkeley, I came in, my goal, I was actually initially a music therapy major.
Oh, interesting.
And I switched because as I started getting deeper into the major, I realized I had taken that major because I was like, this is going to be my day job while I'm a rock star at night. And you can't go into that field viewing it as this is going to be my 9 to 5. You have to have a passion. Is working with people with Alzheimer's, people with PTSD, people with learning disabilities.
Right. Yeah.
And I very quickly realized I wasn't in it for the right reasons.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Smart.
And so I switched to performance, which is where my heart was.
Yep.
And made a lot of great connections from the school. A lot of my peers have gone on to do awesome things. In my journey, I never wanted to be the famous guitar player. I wanted to be the guitar player that went on tour with the famous artist.
Yep. Yeah, I understand that.
And I didn't know what that meant. I was just like, that would be really cool. And it seems more achievable because there's more of those guys than the one famous person.
Sure.
Then you get out and you work in the music world, and where you make money initially is wedding bands, and you do all that. And I started having a lot of friends being those touring musicians, and you realize, at least for me in the life I wanted to have, you go on tour for 3 months, you make hopefully good money for those 3 months, and then you're out of work. And you hope to get picked up by someone else, but in the meantime, you're back to playing with a local band, making $100 a night. And then until the next tour comes around, and there was no stability.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I started getting a little older, that's what the fitness business brought to me. Was I need to make more money? I'll go get a client today.
Right.
I can control it. And
Interesting.
I'm sure there's people that have figured that out in the music business. I never did, outside of doing weddings every weekend and bar gigs. And the more that I got into fitness, though, the standard gigging lifestyle of a musician does not work well with, clients want to train first thing in the morning. I can't be out at a bar until 3 a.m.
No.
Not anymore.
So I had to make choices, and to sum it up, now I still gig, but when it's a better opportunity, I'll do corporate parties that pay well, where I'm not playing till 3 a.m. I can be more responsible with it.
That's
and
great.
It doesn't affect my career, which is in fitness.
Yeah. But
Right,
it's
so-
sorry,
go ahead.
Mary.
No, I was just gonna. But if you have another comment, I was just gonna move on. When you mentioned career, you just started this new Gym Hub Boston, right? So
Right.
where is that? Where can people find you? How do they join?
Yeah.
What do we need to know?
Yeah, so we're right in downtown Boston, the downtown crossing area. It's on School Street, so we're right next to the old City Hall building where Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is.
Oh, cool.
A cool historic building. Is actually there's a plaque in our lobby. It's kind of a funny thing to be proud of, but you've heard of the term like Ponzi scheme,
Yes.
like Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
So the original, I think his name was like Alfred Ponzi.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's your
The
building?
original Ponzi scheme took place.
Discount that though. people.
Promise he's not going to scam you
That's
guys.
not what
Yeah.
this is.
So we have about a 7,000 square foot facility, which that's a whole other thing you could get into, of the real estate of making this thing happen in downtown Boston, with our specific needs of wanting to play music, of people dropping weights and not wanting to upset people beside below you, all of the stuff that goes into that. And obviously commercial real estate is a whole different animal,
Yes,
you know,
it
to
is.
secure that. So, but yeah, right in downtown Boston, we're called Gym Hub. Our website is mygymhub.com.
Okay.
One interesting concept that we have is we actually don't sell memberships. So we're a pay per visit gym.
Yeah.
And there's a couple
that.
reasons we do that. We're first and foremost, our main clientele, we're trying to be a home for independent trainers, like I spoke about at the beginning. Secondly, we have handpicked the best equipment in the country. So when I went to do this, I flew around to the best gyms in the country, tried everything myself, made a list, and then bought the best pieces. No gym has gone to that extent. They call up 5 companies and they find whoever makes the lowest bid, and they buy the whole line from that company.
Yeah.
Which a few machines are good, most of them are terrible. So here, every machine is the best. So with that, the people that come here, our clientele, tend to be a little bit more serious about fitness than the average gym goer.
Right.
It doesn't mean they're in ridiculous shape or super strong. They just want to be in an environment where they're with like-minded people. If I'm here and I'm here to work, I'm not going to sit on a machine and send emails, you know, which is, you see a lot of that in downtown Boston.
Yep.
And so we have a wide range of people, a lot of people that live in the Seaport that we're going to Equinox. Surprisingly, a lot of women have come in and said, it's just nice to come to a gym and be able to work out and not have guys hit on me every time.
Yep.
A lot of these gyms in the city are kind of, it's more of a social scene. So when women
It's an
Yeah.
actual
come
issue.
up,
Yeah.
they have an outfit, they want to look good in the gym for themselves.
Yeah.
Guys take that as, she must want attention, I'm going to go hit on her.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of those women have been coming here because they can just train. And the people that are here to work out.
Are serious.
So
Yeah.
in our pay-per-visit model, it's similar to these studios like a Soul Cycle, a Barry's Boot Camp. We've set a cap of how many people will allow in the gym on any given hour. And if you try to go to any gym, especially in downtown Boston, 5, 6 o'clock at night, it's so beyond capacity, you can't use anything.
Yeah.
I would go into an Equinox, a Boston Sports Club, at 5:30 and turn around and leave.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, there's not one bench, not one machine open. And they don't have any limits for that. So with us, say the gym can hold comfortably 26, 28 people. We set the limit at like 18 people.
Oh.
So at any given time you come, it will never be overcrowded.
Oh, that's cool.
And so people
nice.
reserve their spots, and you know that when you come, even at our busiest, at max capacity, that we're setting it as everything is usable. So it's more about creating the best experience for somebody, and they pay per visit, they reserve their spot, and these are the people that matters to them.
Yep.
Well, I'm getting the vibe that you pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
That you must have to in, your competition and everything, when you think about all those poses and all those tiny little muscles that, I never knew
that
existed.
I will never have. Yeah.
I swear are made up. No.
They're not real.
But no, you can tell that
Applied.
just in your thought, just in the process, even about, like you said, about going to find the best machine, and that you've really paid attention to every detail, and I think that that's unique.
I do too. So are people meeting their trainers at the gym typically? Is that sort of the emphasis of the gym hub?
Yeah, so the trainers that we have so far have come here with their clients. Like they had they were using other spaces.
Yeah.
We just built a better mousetrap. We built a way better. Most of these studios are 200-300 square feet. We're 7,000 square feet.
Right.
So besides we have an open gym with the best equipment. We also have 3 private studios that the trainers can rent, and it's your room for the hour. Or I shouldn't even say trainer, anybody can rent. So we
Okay.
could have a woman in the area that wants to come in and do her workout and just not be around people if it's because of COVID or just doesn't want to be around people for whatever the reason. They can rent out one of these rooms. They're fully equipped, and it's your room for the hour to do your workout.
That's cool.
That is
So-
really nice.
We have people who come with trainers. What we've had happen really very recently, which is beautiful, is a lot of like-minded people, from like Northeastern kids to people working in the Seaport. Everybody's coming and seeing each other and saying like, I'm not the biggest guy, or I'm not in the best shape in the gym anymore. And there's these friendships, and people are now setting up workouts where it's like, hey, let's work out Saturday morning together. And they didn't know each other a week ago.
That's
So
awesome.
people are starting to have little groups of
What a great environment.
hey, we come here at the same time, we have the same goals and interests, let's train together.
I think what we should do is have a follow-up visit with Nate and ask him to carry a camera.
And he train us?
Oh, well, last week we had a medical esthetician, and I came in prepared to be Botoxed and all
Didn't
other kinds
happen.
of things.
No.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking of this just Zoom. I think I was just thinking Zoom. I'm not going to put my leotard on.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. Sure.
Okay, whatever your vision is, Mary.
We'll do whatever you tell us
Yes,
to, Mary.
exactly. You're the boss.
Awesome. I told you he'd be great, right?
He's
Yes,
great.
he is
He's great.
great.
He's great. Okay.
It sounds like you've created a really awesome place.
Yes.
Down there in Boston.
Can't
where
wait to see
everybody needs to
where
go
it's
check
going
it
to go
out.
next.
Thank you so much.
Can't
That's
wait
our
until you
goal is-
franchise, right?
A franchise.
So that's for certain. But one of the things that I learned about myself is, as I mentioned earlier, I can't be stagnant. So
Yeah.
while I'm really excited, I have so much work to do. We officially opened on Monday of this week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so we're just open. We have a lot of, we have a placeholder of a website now. We have a beautiful website that's going to be finished in a couple of weeks that this woman's developing. We're very much trying to be a technology company, so we don't have a front desk. Everything is like through an app that opens the door that lets you in.
Yes.
I love
And so
that.
for security, everybody uploads an ID to the website, so we know you're not making a John Doe account and coming in. We have cameras all throughout the gym, and so we're trying to involve technology as much as we can. So you can go to the app, book your workout, come to the door, push a button, the door opens for you only if you have a reservation. We're trying to set things up. If my theory is correct that we can disrupt the corporate gyms
Yeah.
and offer these trainers, for instance, a trainer working at Boston Sports Club making $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
The same number of clients, same number of hours, comes across the street and works for us. They make $140,000.
Wow.
So as we get
a
our
great business
message out
model.
and do this in this location, my hope is to scale.
Yeah.
And say
Wonderful.
everywhere there's an Equinox, we'll open up right next door to them. Give their trainers a new home to go to.
Great.
That's
Terrific.
fantastic. You're doing God's work out there, Nate. Good job. I mean, I'm thinking about he's offering these trainers who have been sort of downtrodden and taken advantage of. He found not just a purpose with profit for him, but a purpose with profit for them.
Well, that
And
all rise.
it does.
Wave ships. the
Yeah.
whole
It
thing.
ultimately helps the client. As
It,
well.
it helps
Right.
everybody.
The client
It's
benefits,
a
yes.
win-win-win, and we at Keller Williams like that a lot.
We did. Yeah. Win-win.
So Nate, we typically close with just a quote, and you very kindly gave us this quote, and it is, "Be kind because you never know what someone else is going through." And I thought about the gym environment, and I remember my first personal trainer. I left crying. I did. I couldn't do it. There was no way I could do that. And it was, it brings back so much old stuff. And
Yeah.
that trainer has no idea what's
Right.
going
Yeah.
on. And I ruined their day. And
They obviously ruined
on your
yours.
day,
Yeah,
yes.
it was
and I
mutual.
couldn't do this.
for
I couldn't do this.
that.
But regardless of training, this is a quote that is so important for life.
It is.
It's really profound.
It is.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the last, it's occurred in two different spectrums. One in the gym. Give you the quick story. Over the last week, a couple very young Northeastern girls have come in. They found out about the gym, and 18, 19, beautiful. You look at them and you're like prom queen.
Yep.
If I looked like that, my life would be easy, type of thing.
Sure.
Right? And so they're in the gym. They're in fantastic shape. They're beautiful faces, great personalities. And one of the girls came by herself the other day and, just made 10 minutes of small talk with her. And she was in a car accident 6 months ago where basically the doctor said she should have been paralyzed.
Wow.
And major spinal damage, broke her femur. And she's just getting back. And she has total fear when she's in the gym working out that her leg's going to break. And
Yeah.
you would never see this, right? You see
Right.
this girl and every other girl's hating on her because she's
Sure.
so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No idea.
Her friend that came in with her it turns out, I'm reposting. We've been very fortunate with social media. People come in, they love the gym, they post, we repost it. And an old client of mine who I trained probably 15 years ago, worked in a hedge fund, lives in Long Island, saw my story and said, "Oh, wow, so-and-so. Please send me a long text. Please take good care of her. She's 18. Her dad just died. She's devastated. Her dad was my best friend for the last 20 years. The whole family's destroyed, and, look out for her."
Yeah.
And you never know it.
Right.
The girl's dealing with this, and the gym is her outlet. And so just in the span of a week, these two girls that you would look at and say, like,
They
to
have
be
it all.
them,
Yeah.
and you see what they're going through, but they're not showing it, The other side was, say, with my coach Jose, who's achieved this notoriety of fame within something.
Yep.
Is he can't make a post on Instagram, he can't do an Instagram live without a bunch of trolls coming at him, and people saying, "You're ugly, you use steroids, you look," just nothing good.
Yep.
And I've talked to him kind of at length of, like, what is that like? Like, for me, I make a post and I get 15 comments and they're all positive.
Yeah.
There's people.
Right.
Uh-huh.
He makes a post, he gets 200 comments and 50 of them are negative.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
what is that like? And he brushed it off so easily. And I was kind of putting myself in his shoes of, what would that be like to have these people taking the time and posting on your thing of how ugly you look, And the comeback was, I have compassion for them. Do you think Michael Jordan's going online and leaving 20 negative comments
No.
for 20 people?
No.
Yeah.
These are people, like,
Right.
clearly in a
Wannabes
bad
and-
place in their life.
They're in pain. Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
And so that was another avenue that, it's very easy to, even just as we're getting this gym going, I'm hearing the clamoring of other gyms not happy that we're doing our thing, or other training studios, or, right?
Good.
That's
When you
success.
do something different, you're going to, unfortunately, my financial gain comes at someone else's financial loss as
Yeah.
trainers move around. And so as you start hearing this chatter, sometimes you have to kind of put things into perspective like that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going through, for a lot of this stuff. So it's just a quote that
It's a good perspective.
sometimes I have to remind myself, to
Yes.
put things in perspective like that.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
It's a great
Very
way
thoughtful.
to put the lens on as you go throughout your day, and
Yep.
just be kind to everyone, because who
True.
knows?
You don't
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Nate.
Yeah.
Thank
Nate,
you so
nice
much,
to meet
Nate.
you.
We
Awesome
wish you
to
the
see you.
very best
know
of
it's
luck
gonna
with the
just-
gym. It's going to blow up.
I'm
It's gonna
glad
be
we
amazing.
got this interview in now
Me
because in
too.
the first
I
week,
know.
because you'll be too busy for us.
Yes,
First
but you can
off.
use our interview to just be more
Yeah.
famous. Okay.
There you go.
We will
Thank
lift you
you.
up.
Yes.
Super. So, Mary, next guest?
Donna from Clear Path New England for Veterans.
Yes. Nice.
So that'll be
Awesome.
fun.
Donna Bolger.
That'll be
Yes.
fun. Thank you again, Nate, and all the best to Gym Hub, and we'll keep looking for you.
Yes. Can't wait to see
Thanks,
what else you
Nate.
do.
Okay.
So nice to
Have a
meet you
great
ladies.
day.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nate.